Babies can eat most, but not all foods. And in this video, I'm going to show you 5 unsafe foods that I wish people would stop feeding their babies. But then I'm going to show you how you can actually make these same foods totally safe for your baby to eat. Hi, I'm Katie Ferraro, registered dietitian specializing in baby-led weaning, mom of 7, and every week I'm making you guys new videos on how to safely start solid foods with your baby. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of this baby feeding business. All right, here are the 5 foods that I think should be banned from feeding babies in these particular formats. Now, it's not the foods that are unsafe, you guys, it's the format that they're being offered in. So what I did for you today was I picked one food from each of the 5 categories in my 5-step feeding framework. The 5-step feeding framework is the backbone of my 100 First Foods program, where we can help your baby eat 100 safe baby-led weaning foods before they turn 1. Now, each week we offer babies one new food every day for 5 days as part of that 5-step feeding framework. And we start with a fruit on Mondays. So let's start with the most unsafe fruit, and that is apple. The fruit that I wish people would stop feeding their babies are raw, crunchy, or crispy apples. You guys, the safest foods for early eaters are soft foods that are cut into strips or spears about the size of your adult pinky finger. But we don't do any hard, crunchy, or crispy foods like raw apples because those are a choking hazard. Well, then how do you make apples safe? Well, you can slice, core, and peel apples, then poach them in a little bit of water to get them fork tender, which is then a texture that is safe for your baby to eat. So put those apple slices in a bowl. You can season them with nutmeg or cinnamon, and then babies can safely pick up these soft cooked apple slices and feed themselves. Next up, something from the vegetable category, and the food that I wish people would stop giving their babies are pieces of raw bell pepper, okay? I saw this on another account the other day, someone talking about, oh, but bell peppers have so much vitamin C. Yeah, so do all fruits and vegetables. And sure, vitamin C helps your baby absorb iron from the other foods that you're offering. But if your baby chokes on the raw, crunchy piece of bell pepper, then you're really not gonna be that concerned about the iron that they're absorbing with the vitamin C, are you? Okay, you can definitely make bell peppers safe for babies to eat, and there are a few ways. So you can roast the peppers and then remove the skin so that you end up with soft strips of bell pepper about the size of your adult pinky finger that you can then offer to the baby. Or if you're like me, a little bit on the lazy side, just look for low sodium jarred red bell pepper strips, remove any skins if they're there, put them in a bowl, and let your baby feed them to themselves. Lastly, I love making romesco sauce out of red bell peppers. It's also a really cool way to introduce your baby to one of the potentially allergenic foods, tree nuts, because this red bell pepper romesco sauce has almonds in it. Actually made a whole video on how to make this red bell pepper sauce for your baby so that you can offer that out of an open cup or off of a preloaded spoon. Check that video out, but please do not do raw red bell pepper. So the next category that we're picking a food off of from the 100 First Foods list is from the starchy foods category. Now, this is an important category of food, right? Because your baby, as far as starchy foods, babies start to require slightly more calories from carbohydrate than any other macronutrient as you enter the second 6 months of life. But bread is not the only carbohydrate food out there, you guys. Here's the problem with bread for babies. Well, there's actually a few problems. Okay, first, when we're talking about commercial breads that you buy at the store, way too high in sodium, which is salt, for your baby. My general rule of thumb, right? If we're looking at foods in the grocery store, I'm looking for foods that have less than 100 milligrams of sodium per serving on a packaged food if I'm going to be offering that to the baby. And go down your bread aisle, it's almost impossible to find bread that has less than 100 milligrams of sodium per slice. Not to mention that even if you do, the low sodium bread is going to be super dry, because one of the things that salt does in baking is to help retain moisture. So if you serve a dry food like a low sodium bread, well then that's a choking hazard. Okay, not to mention that bread, it's really starchy. It can really easily form a sticky starch ball that can lodge on the roof or the sides of your baby's mouth that's very hard for those early eaters to clear. So my advice for you is to choose one of the many other starchy foods that are safer, that have no salt, that are higher in iron, that babies can eat on their own. My 100 First Foods list has 20 different starchy foods, many of which are whole grains. The video description will show you how to get this free 100 First Foods list. And I'm also going to link to a podcast episode where I share more information about how and when to safely offer bread to babies if you want to listen to that for a little more info about bread. If your family eats animal foods, I love when you guys offer meat early on to your babies. Okay, there's lots of iron and zinc and taste and texture properties here in meat. However, we do not offer solid pieces of meat like steak or pork chops for babies. All right, your baby can safely eat meat, but the meat that you offer needs to be in soft, shreddable strips. I always say, if you can shred the meat between your finger and your thumb, then it's safe for your baby to eat with their gums. Solid pieces of meat, like steak, are a choking hazard, but there's lots of other cuts of beef, for example, that work great for babies. Some of my favorite cuts of beef for babies are chuck roast, brisket, I love country style ribs, or even ground beef. Just please steer clear of the steak. Now, I also wanted to include an allergenic food on this list too, because in my programs, we always introduce an allergenic food once a week. We start on day 5 in the first week of baby-led weaning. And peanut is a great allergenic food to start out with because we have very good evidence that early introduction of peanut protein can help prevent peanut allergy down the road. But thick globs of nut butter or intact nuts, these are choking hazards. So then how do you safely help your baby eat peanuts? Well, you can do peanut butter, but it has to be thinned out peanut butter. I choose unsalted, no sugar, smooth peanut butter, and then I mix it really well with breast milk or formula or unsweetened applesauce. Get it to the consistency where it's nice and smooth and slides off of your adult spoon. That's an indicator that it will also not be getting stuck on the roof or the sides of your baby's mouth. If you want an even easier solution for introducing peanut protein, I love to use the peanut puffs from Puffworks Baby. These have no added sugar, just a smidge of salt for preservative. Plus, these are the softest puffs on the market, so they easily dissolve on your baby's tongue. I have an affiliate discount code for Puffworks Baby Peanut Puffs. If you want to grab a case, it's a totally no stress, low mess way to safely introduce your baby to peanut protein, but please do not be using thick globs of peanut butter. All right, there you have it. 5 foods that I think should be banned for babies and then how to make them safer. If you want some more foods that I think you should steer clear of, I do have another free feeding guide called 15 Foods Never to Feed Your Baby. You can download 15 Foods to Never Feed Your Baby via the link in the video description, and happy feeding.